Hi everyone, it's Ali with another card. This time it's another Mother's Day card using a really cute little stamp set, Octopi My Heart from Lawn Fawn. Just going to start with a piece of white cardstock, just normal white cardstock, and I've got the inks Blueprint Sketch, Mermaid Lagoon and Salty Ocean Distress inks. I'm just going to start with the darkest at the base. I've just got a piece of scrap paper there to get most of the ink off before I go onto my paper. And I just lightly start to smooch that onto the paper and continue to build up that colour little bit by little bit up to the point where I want to put the next colour on. So the next colour is Mermaid Lagoon, and again I'm doing the same thing, just dabbing it off on the paper and then going in with the colour, trying to blend from the darker colour. And just continue that up another third of the paper. And last of all, I'm going in with Salty Ocean, again using my distress ink tool, getting off the excess and sponging it up to the top of the paper. And just gradually build up the colour so you don't get too many lines or marks. But again, it doesn't matter if you get a few heavier marks here and there, because we're going to use a stencil over the top to make it look like ocean waves, and that tends to cover up any sort of unevenness in the colour. I'm just going back over with the darker one and also the Mermaid Lagoon just to get those colours a bit more intense. And here's the template I made with using just one of my cloud dies. It's an Avery L cloud die, and I just got a piece of acetate and cut them out on my Big Shot, cut it out around the edge just to make a cloud die like some of the ones you can get now on the market. And I'm just using Salty Ocean and a really cheap like soft makeup brush that I got from a $2 store in my local town, and I'm just going gradually up the page and making that nice stencil of the wave pattern or upside down cloud pattern. See, yeah, so when you turn it around, it makes lovely little soft waves. I'm just going to cut the paper down because you notice I had a few smudges on the side of the card there where I must have got some ink on my fingers. I'm going to cut it down a little bit there. I still have one smudge on that piece, but I'm not too worried because I'm going to probably cover that up with something towards the end. Then just to make a few water splatters, I got my gouache pen and just splattered a few water drops. And then I decided I wanted a little bit more sparkle and shimmer, so I got my shimmer spritz and also dotted a few spots over the paper with that to give it a nice sparkle. It's a sheer shimmer spritz sparkle from Imagine Crafts. Now I'm going to stamp my octopus, so it's the Lawn Fawn stamp Octopi My Heart, and I'm going to use my Misty just because I find it gives me a really clear impression, and I can double stamp or triple stamp if I need to get a really nice dark impression. And I'm going to use Memento ink because I want to colour him in with my copics, and I need a Copic friendly ink. I only need to stamp it once in the end. It's stamped up really nicely. And then I'm going to get my copics. I've got the lightest one is C1, I've got a C5 and then a C7. So I'm going to start off with a really light coat of my C1, just covering the whole image with that. Then I'm going to go in with my darkest colour, the C7, and just shade where the octopus legs and his body would be in shadow. And then I just feather that in a little bit around his head as well, just to make it easier to blend together. So then I'm going to go in with the C5 and try and blend that C7 in. I don't have a lot of Copics, so I do find that you can blend them even though the colours are going quite big jumps in the shading. And then I go over with the C1 at the end and try and blend them all in. Then I'm going to cut him out with my scissors, and then when I've done that, I don't have the die for this stamp set. It wasn't available when I bought the stamp set. It was out of stock. So go in with my scissors and then cut the intricate parts with my scalpel. And then I'm just going back over the really white parts with the C1 again to make them blend a little better. And this is a Dynamics die. It's stitched hearts, and I'm just going to pick a heart that's a good size and cut that out of vellum, run it through my Big Shot. So there's my vellum heart. And now I'm just going to work out where my pieces might go on my card front. And I just place it on the front of my craft card just to see how it's all going to go. And I decide that I need a piece down the bottom for the sand just to ground the image a little bit. So I just cut out a little wavy part by hand and stick that on with some double-sided tape. And then again, just working out where all the pieces are going to go on my card. I'm going to stamp on my heart the little saying out of the set, which is "You Octopi My Heart." And I'm just going to line those little stamps up, which is a little bit fiddly, but using the lines on the Misty, it's quite easy to line them up straight. And I'm going to stamp that in Stays On ink, just because it's on vellum. And I find that the other ink doesn't dry all that well. So the Stays On ink sets really well on the vellum and doesn't smudge at all. So just inking that up, stamping with the Stays On. Okay, that's done. And now I just want to place them on, and I'm going to have a little Happy Mother's Day underneath that on a little banner piece of craft card. So I'm using a set from Paula Pasquale, which I've had for quite a while, and just a little Happy Mother's Day wording from there. Just cut that out with my scalpel and make a little ribbon end of it. And I decided that I needed something like seaweed to tuck it behind, so I just got one of my paper tray ink sets with, it's actually meant to be a leaf, but it looks quite a lot like seaweed, so I just got that out. And I'm going to stamp that in my distress ink, just to make it a better impression. Sometimes the distress inks don't stamp on the clear stamps that well. I saw a little trick on YouTube where you stamp Versamark first, wipe it off with your hand, and then put your ink on the stamp, and it helps to get a better impression. But in the end I did have to stamp this 3 times to get a nice impression, which is the beauty of the Misty, just allows you to do that, which is fantastic. And then again I'm going to cut that out using my scalpel. And then just working out where all that's going to go on the card. Happy with my placement, so now I'm going to attach all my elements just with double-sided tape. And the seaweed. And I actually stuck the seaweed on just because it's a little bit more intricate with my multimedia matte glue, which is really good with a fine tip, precision tip, which I bought separately, which is really handy as well. So just sticking that on. And because the vellum, you can't actually put adhesive behind it because you see through it, so I'm going to put some adhesive or some double-sided tape behind the octopus and stick him onto it, and then he'll have a bit of extra stick that you see stuck down to the mat, and that will help it stick down to the front of the card. And then I'm going to actually stick my Happy Mother's Day, with double-sided tape as well, and that will keep the bottom of the heart secure. So the heart is just secured by the octopus and the Happy Mother's Day sentiment. And then I'm just going to finish it off with some sequins. I think they're just sort of dollar store sequins. And I have got a little tool called a Pick Me Up, which I've just purchased, and it has got a sticky end. It's like a little bit of blue tack actually in the end, and it just picks up the sequin, allows you to glue it and then put it down again. That's quite a handy tool to have. And then just stick those sequins randomly over the front of the card. And that's it for the card. I hope you like it. And thanks for watching my video, and any comments are always much appreciated, and a thumbs up as well. And I'll see you next time for another card.